I can remember when I was working at Home Depot and this coworker of mine had a breakdown on the sales floor because she just came to the realization that she was $68,000 in debt to a history of art degree that she could only use in New York City, where the cost of living was so high that she'd be better off just teaching art in public school literally anywhere else at that point. A burnout as publicly as hers is rare, but it's not unheard of. This life can bottle you up in a pressure can of stress and expectations, and that can will bust oftentimes when you least want it to. I want to take a moment to talk about this, as it's something I feel the internet hasn't addressed very well up until now. You see, I think the problem with YouTube is that the advice oftentimes comes from the well-established few, and it's hard to process these problems from people who don't seem to experience them themselves. Well, this is a channel that's been around for about 5 years or so without any significant growth, and I'm here to tell you that it's frustrating as hell to feel like you're going out there and giving it your best for 5 years only to wind up nowhere for it. A great deal of excuses can be made as to your lack of success. This is true, but a great deal of luck is also at play here too, and there are some of us out there working our asses off to make the most on this platform only for things to ultimately just not pan out for us. So how then? How do we avoid the burnout after we've poured our best efforts into 5 or more years with little to nothing to show for it? I'm not a religious person, never have been, but I think people with that strong a sense of faith have a leg up on us in terms of the YouTube game. I don't mean this in an insulting way or anything, but strongly held religious beliefs require a healthy amount of blind faith. You don't often get any obvious or undeniable signs of your God's existence, but you're expected to believe anyway, and you'll do just that. Success on YouTube is the same way, in that oftentimes you'll see no proof of any chance of your channel blowing up or even becoming remotely relevant. You're just to exercise your blind faith and believe that if you keep posting good content, that good things will happen. There's so many things wrong with that logic, especially for myself. I've been a largely evidence-based believer in my years. For how long do I need to keep banging my head against this wall before I break through? How frequently do I need to post? What is good content? Is my content good? How do I know if my content is any good? Chances are all these questions haunt you like a ghost Pokemon. It sucks, but it is where we are. There is also the issue of saturation. The cat's out of the bag in terms of YouTube being a place to earn money and succeed. And there's tons of yahoos out there now trying to find their way on this platform. I'm one of them. You're one of them. We're in this together, and it sucks, honestly. How to find a niche that people want to watch, and then stand out enough in that niche to not just be a clone of the other, more successful folks out there doing the same thing in your niche, and so many other problems. I was inspired by WhyLearn and similar channels that give life advice to the backdrop of Call of Duty. When designing my new channel, I decided that I wanted to do something similar but different, Unique enough to me, but similar enough to them to where we could kind of mold in the same audience. I was going to play a different and more modern game. I was going to focus on productivity and getting stuff done rather than more broad life advice. The stage was set, and I felt comfortable enough in my plans to put them into action. And honestly, these videos have done much better than anything else on my channel. And I think that's the first takeaway to get from this. These videos are so far away from blowing up, it's laughable, but they did take me from an average view count of like 10 to an average view count of like 100. From an 8% retention rate to a 20% retention rate. And I think that's an important thing to hone in on the early stages of YouTube. Yes, we all have to settle for some good old religious blind faith, but we also have to get excited about improvements, no matter how minor. You just released a video that's edited so well that you get all giddy and excited thinking about it. Release a video that got 10 more views than the last one, got more video retention than normal. Anything really. You have to find improvement from where you were last time and get excited about it, because being able to get excited about your work will keep you going. It'll push you through the depression and the giving up mentality. It's what's kept me going for 5 years, despite still not even having 1,000 subscribers, lol. But it's when I upload that one random Life is Strange video and watch it climb to the thousands of views and I get all giddy inside. It's not easy, and it's not fun, and it certainly isn't glamorous, but it's needed if you intend to get anything out of this YouTube journey. harness your excitement, and use it to your advantage. YouTube is basically a job at this point. A job where entry level is an unpaid internship rather than a lower paying position. And that too is a hard distinction for most people to draw. In the working world, the sad reality is that the higher paid positions are reserved for those people who work hard and are able to make the powers that be like them. Though it's not impossible, it'll be tough to seize that higher paid position without mastering at least one of these two things. YouTube is no different than a traditional employer in that regards. You have to please the powers that be, the algorithm, in order to get that promotion, your YouTube Partners program. And even still, the real high-paying positions are reserved for those select few. In YouTube's infancy, anyone being paid through the platform was viewed as a celebrity status person. Some of us are still stuck in that idea today, but that's not the case anymore. The landscape for YouTube's success has changed. Not every successful YouTuber is as big as Logan Paul or Mr. Beast. They're the extreme examples of what YouTube success can look like, but there's plenty of more practical examples of YouTube success out there on this platform. One of my personal favorite YouTubers who I followed and hope to replicate their success is Joel Haver. He's got 2 million or so subscribers, which is wild to think that that's a small channel in this day and age, but it is. But he funds his life and projects through his Patreon earnings. He earns about $5,000 a month on Patreon from his loyal supporters, and that's honestly the dream for me. Being able to make a livable income on YouTube through the support of my lovely and loyal supporters, that's a much more practical goal in terms of YouTube success these days, rather than the wealth and fame we'd come to expect from it. But I think it's vitally important to understand that YouTube is a job, and an unpaid internship at best. But if you expect to succeed at YouTube, then you'll need to give it the amount of effort you'd give a job. Show up for it every day, for a select amount of hours. Not minutes, not seconds, hours. And give it good work. That is, of course, assuming that you do as much for your actual job right now. Time is often the most valuable asset that we have to offer a company. And what values we as an individual can offer our employer with that time. Again, YouTube is no different in this. We're giving YouTube our time and hard work in an effort to seize an audience's time and attention. So then, if YouTube is a job, and the entry-level positions are all unpaid internships, why then do you spend 20 minutes a week on YouTube and expect to get thousands of rewards from it? It's a hard truth, but YouTube is a job, and if you want it to provide for you, then you'll need to dedicate some significant amount of time and effort to it. And that takes me to my second point on here on avoiding the burnout, and that's accepting reality. Yes, from earlier, we need to keep ourselves excited, especially about the little and trivial things that we succeed on from video to video. But we also need to accept the reality of things. The exciting and trivial success that we just celebrated isn't enough to carry us to the next stage on YouTube. That the amount of time you're currently dedicating to YouTube probably isn't enough as well. Maybe it's not the time, but the effort you put in. And if you're giving it all the time and the effort that you can, and you're still excited about things, but also still staring the nothingness in the face of this platform, and it's draining you to the point of a burnout, well then, you'll need to turn to your blind faith at that point. That good old religious faith that I feel that group has over us in that matter. Blind faith in ourselves and our eventual success is all we have left at that point. It's not glamorous, and it's not some awesome one-fix answer that I'm sure you were wanting, but it's the reality that we all must face. The third and final piece of advice I have for you in regards to avoiding the burnout, and bear with me as this may seem obvious or cliche, but you gotta take care of yourself. Nothing's gonna work out in your favor if you can't first take care of you. You can't harbor that blind faith if you can't take care of yourself. You can't get excited about the little improvements on your work if yourself is also broken. You can't face the reality of YouTube being a job if you can't face your own reality that you've been in a bad place. The fact of the matter is that burnout is mostly unavoidable, and that it'll sneak up on you, and you'll burn out without having even noticed it. You'll likely not realize you burnt out until either you reflect on having bested the burnout or being stuck in it for an extended period of time. The latter is what we're hoping to prevent here. If burnout is mostly unavoidable, then we need to focus on being able to snap back from it as quickly as possible. Because wallowing in that pit for months on end will have a serious effect against you. This is where your hobbies and friends come in handy. There's a great many ways to get away from the things that are burning you out. Some of them are healthy outlets, others are vices. And some of those healthier habits can become vices. As I tend to state, it all boils down to consumption. And I've made plenty of videos on consumption and the dangers thereof, so I won't dive into that here, but if you're burning out, fear the burnout, or are just looking to break away from this YouTube scene, then find your healthy and effective ways to do so. Maybe you watch one of your favorite films, maybe you spend a day with the bros, maybe you fire up a favorite video game. All these things are necessary for preventing a burnout, but all these things can be crippling during a burnout. If you're already burnt out, then it's all too easy to spend all day binging movies and TV, spending excessive amount of time out and partying with old friends, or video gaming for weeks on end. That's why you need to be able to recognize a healthy balance for yourself. Recognize when there's something else you need to be getting to, and then go out there and do it. When you're dumping hours into YouTube and the little improvements you keep getting excited about just aren't quite cutting it, it's real easy to fire up your Xbox and game your time away. I don't like to pick on video games. I love video games, but they are also really easy to fall into. All this is to say that it's a very slippery balancing beam that we stand on in order to avoid the burnout and or recover from it. The best you can do is get to know you inside and out, and be able to prescribe the problems you're facing early on. Trouble motivating yourself to do work on YouTube today? Maybe good movies have motivated you in the past. Then fire up a movie and see what happens. Feeling like you're alone and creating in a bubble on YouTube? Go hit up some friends and hang out and not feel so lonely. Need to just get away and escape from reality, but ain't got the money for anything fancy? Fire up a video game and escape from reality. These are all good methods for taking control of yourself and being able to prevent the burnout, or to recover from it. Just remember, burnout is mostly inevitable, and it's not often that we notice it until after we've recovered from it, or stayed in it for far too long. So make sure to be checking yourself regularly and keeping yourself in good spirits and healthy, in an effort to bounce back from those burnouts. So, in closing, to avoid the burnout or recover from it much quicker, I've experienced 3 major techniques in doing so far. First is to maintain your happiness and excitement for the projects that you're creating, even through the smallest and most trivial of ways. You'll also need to face the reality that YouTube is a job, and you need to treat it as such. And last, but nowhere near least, is to take care of yourself. Find the ways that you can effectively avoid and or recover from a burnout, and find a healthy balance between being productive and doing your anti-burnout activities. Also, I've already touched base on how burnout is, unfortunately, mostly unavoidable, especially in terms of YouTube creators. Don't feel like you've lost or are somehow less of a person or a creator because you've burnt out. You're human, and humans burn out from things that they don't feel they're getting a great return out of. Regular jobs are no different and are the best example of this. It's those of us who recover from the burnout, persevere through the burnout, and keep after our passions that'll eventually break through the noise ceiling and get what we're out to get out of this life. Thanks for watching, and I apologize if this was more ranty than we're used to. It's just the style of video I settled with for this particular topic. My books are available on Amazon, links in the bio. If you were to check them out, I'd be forever grateful. I suggest starting with Dusty Little Wastelanders or anything published after that, as those feature my strongest writing yet. Now go out there and start some changes today, bud.